Hello everyone, this is a little video which is designed to guide you through the process of writing your bibliography and putting your references to books and articles into your essay. The main guidance that you need is available on Moodle, and it's at the bottom of the coursework section. It's not the room section, it's the general coursework section because it applies to all books. And it's the very last link in that section. It's called Guidance on Bibliography and Citations. So I'm going to open that up now and just talk through the process of using it. Okay. So you've got an example of the bibliography on the second page of the document. So yours should be looking something like this. If you've got less than 3 or 4 items in your bibliography, it would be nice to have more. You certainly don't need more than 8. It would be very unusual to go above that. You might do, on the other hand, and if you look at Pete Miller's A star grade essay, which is the A grade essay available in the room section on Moodle, you'll see that there's a lot of references. But there's no minimum, there's no maximum. The main point of the bibliography is that it's an accurate and complete record of everything that you've read, you've used, and that particularly you've quoted in your essay. This is your guarantee that you're not going to get accused of plagiarism because you're acknowledging everything that you've read. It doesn't have to be quoted in your essay to go into the bibliography. If you've read an article and it's contributed to your thinking, it would add value to your bibliography to put it in there. Okay, so the more the merrier, better, basically. Now, each element in the bibliography is arranged in alphabetical order by author surname. So probably early on in your bibliography, you'll have the actual edition of room that you've used. I'm using the Picador edition. You probably are as well, unless you're using some online edition. If you are, I would quote a printed edition, which is Picador. So this is your basic format for a book quotation. Donahue, Amy, full stop. Title of the book, then the publisher, and then the year of publication. Now we can get the rules for that from this formula here. And for any element in your bibliography, for any item, you should be able to basically work your way through this. Now, a couple of things to notice. The title of the book or the magazine or website is in italics here. So that's using the Harvard reference style. But it's not going to be the end of the world if you miss little details like that. So you would not lose marks if you didn't do that. This is the proper professional way to do it. But there are no specific marks to be gained or lost for the bibliography. As long as it's neat and tidy and consistent, I'm going to be perfectly happy. Okay, so I don't want you to get too stressed about it. Okay, it is a mark of very high scoring essays that those students take care and they are accurate and they do use the conventional guidelines. Okay, so that's a nice simple one. You're very likely to be using web articles, I think. So I would expect more of those than, say, books or magazines. So here we've got an example of a John Mullen article from The Guardian. Again, you notice we've got the last name first, surname, comma, first name, then a full stop. And now we have the actual journal or newspaper in italics. So that would be the equivalent to room here. Here, this is coming from The Guardian. It's the Guardian website, but it was published originally in the Guardian newspaper. So I want to put that as the original source. And we've got the name of the article in quote marks here. If we go and check our recipe for making bibliography articles, you can see how that works. We have the name first, then we have the name of the article or the name of the web page, and then where does that come from? the book or the magazine or the website. So it's the article or the web page which comes from this site or book or journal. Okay. We've then got the date of publication, day, month, year. We've then got the full URL, the web address. So I should be able to use that to go and visit that if I want to. And then finally, to be super complete, the date on which I accessed that. I wouldn't be too bothered if that was missing, but to be complete, the idea of that is that web pages can and do change. So that means that I was using that version of the website as it was on that day. Okay. So that's probably one of the more complicated options. The final issue you've got is the AQA anthology. Now that's a little bit complicated because you've got two basic sources for those extracts from the AQA anthology. You've got the original source, and then you've got the AQA anthology itself. So that's a little bit tricky, actually. How do you reference that? My suggestion is this. Go back to the original source for your bibliography. So you've got the narration extract by David Lodge in the AQA Critical Anthology. And this is how I would reference it in the bibliography. The original source, nicely, all of that is given for you in the AQA Anthology for every entry. So you basically just need to copy that out. And then at the end of that, and this is a little bit unofficial, it's not part of the recipe, but because this is a special case and we want to mark that this is from the AQA anthology, I've just put that in 3 words at the end of the entry. And I would be doing that for every extract that you've quoted from the AQA anthology. Okay, and you can put the AQA anthology in as a separate item in the bibliography. I think that would be a nice idea, but to be honest, not essential. I think it would be more useful to reference each individual article that that the AQA anthology uses and that you've used. Okay. Also, nicely, that will bulk out your bibliography a little bit, because if you've used 2 entries from the AQA anthology, you'll have 2 entries in your bibliography, and that'll look a little bit more chunky, a little bit more meaty, and a little bit more impressive. So that can't hurt. So everything here is in alphabetical order by name, as you can see. We've got Donahue Amy to start with, the novel that we're actually studying. Then we've got Donahue Amy again. I don't care which order those go in. There probably is a rule, I don't even know it. But if you've got 2 articles by John Mullen, for instance, I don't mind what order they go in. So we've got my D's for Donahue, L for David Lodge, M for John Mullen, and so on and so on. Okay. We've got instructions for how to quote from the AQA anthology there. I would recommend that you try and do at least one reference to the critical anthology. That can be a little bit tricky for the intertextuality article. So I wouldn't worry if there wasn't a use of the AQA anthology for the intertextuality article, essay, because it doesn't happen to be covered by the anthology, that topic. You may well find a way to use the critical anthology, and I think the better essays probably will, but I don't think I would regard that as a weakness if that was missing. Okay. Now, there is a way in which you can use Word to create citations and bibliography automatically. I should give you a health warning on this, that this will only work if you've got Word installed as a full app on your device, on your laptop or desktop computer. It won't be work if you're running Word as part of Office 365 online in a browser. Okay, so I'm not actually going to go into that because I think that might be a bit confusing and people might find that that's not available for them. But if you want to have a go at that, you have got instructions, and it would mean that you wouldn't have to be typing out these individual items, you can use Word, if you've got the computer program at home, to create that for you. Okay, so you can try it both ways, see if you've got that available, and if you have, it's just a basic matter of filling in dialog boxes then every time you quote a source in your essay, and then you add the bibliography at the end. Now, the other thing that I want to talk about in this video is how you put in your references to the books as you go along in the essay. And there's definitely a nice simple way to do that neatly and tidily. Okay, some people I think make a little bit of a meal of this and it's quite wordy. The way to do it is you say what the critic that you're talking about has said. You give their name to start with. You then move into an embedded quotation if you can, or you can just summarize in your own words. Okay, you don't need to use a direct quote. And then at the end, this is your link into the bibliography. So it's almost like a little hook which allows me to look this up. I don't need to use footnotes if I'm using this bracket method, and I like this bracket method because it's simple and easy to do. Okay, it doesn't depend on having a footnoting program, and it's just simple, you just type it. So to reference something from your bibliography, you simply put the surname of your author and the year in which they wrote that piece of work. And basically that's a lookup that I can then go into my bibliography and go Mullen 2004, there it is. So I don't need to be putting the web address, for instance, in the essay where it looks messy and clunky and just gets in the way and is disruptive. All I need is surname and year. And the way to introduce one of these references is you use a phrase like, Don O'Hue has said that, and then you quote it, blah, blah, blah. Or, according to Sarah Blackwood, room, I need to put the title in quote marks, room is, and then you say what she said about it. Deeply problematic. I'm just making this up, so don't copy it into your essay. Deeply problematic. And then you put in brackets, again, I'm making this up, Blackwood 2000 and let's say 13. Okay, and I'd want one for Donahue. Let's supposing that it's from the book club interview, which is 2014 that she recorded that interview. So I would go Don O'Hue 2014. And that's it. So that's how you put in your references. First time you refer to a critic, you use their full name. Second time you refer to that critic, just the surname. So you would say, I partly agree with Blackwood, but, and then you enter into that engagement with your source. Don't put the first name, don't keep using the full name. It's the surname after that first naming of your critic. That's it. As long as you try and be careful and complete with your bibliography, I will not be marking it wrong or failing it if there's one or two little errors in it. The essential thing, which I will reinforce, is that you must have everything that you've read that's gone into your essay in any form, whether you've quoted it or not, referenced in that bibliography. Okay? Because if somebody is going through these final drafts and we're moderating and they find that you have used somebody else's ideas or words and they're in your essay and you haven't acknowledged that, then that risks being judged as plagiarism. And plagiarism is a serious academic misdemeanor, and you could have your coursework failed completely. So don't take the risk. If you take the time, take the trouble to go and look up this detail, If you haven't noted it already before, go and look it up again. Okay, find it, Google it, get all your details. If, by the way, you don't know a name or you don't know a date, okay, just miss it out. You don't have to put unknown or you just don't include it. So you might have, this might be something like Spark Notes. So you wouldn't have a named author. You would simply go themes in room, Spark Notes, date if you can, but if there isn't a date on the Spark Notes page, miss that out, and then the full URL. Okay. By the way, if you cannot find a named writer for your source, that is a sign that it's not a great source. Okay, there's nothing wrong with using Spark Notes, but it's far more substantial to be referencing and discussing ideas from actual named critics rather than just general material which is anonymous on the internet. Okay, that is going to be of a lower quality and of a lower academic standard. Okay, so it's always a good sign that you've got named sources, that you're looking at a good source. Okay. I haven't seen anybody reference Wikipedia. You shouldn't really be referencing Wikipedia because everything every fact in Wikipedia has got a reference where it came from at the bottom of the Wikipedia page, and that's the source that you should use. And that goes for any A-level subject. Okay. Some teachers are very against referencing Wikipedia, but you can still use it, but you find out where that came from and what the source of that material is by looking at the notes at the bottom of the Wikipedia page, and then you reference that. So it looks like you're better read than you really are. It's a little bit of a cheat, but hey, everybody does it. Okay, that's that. Don't get too tied up in knots with the bibliography. I'd far rather you spent your time, effort and energy on polishing the actual wording of your final draft, but the bibliography is necessary. You will need to submit it with your final draft. I like it as part of the main document, so you're not handing it in as a separate document, but it looks nice if you go new page. If you hit Control Enter, is it Control? Let's just find out how to do a new page. Yeah, Control Enter moves you onto a new page, and then just give me a bibliography heading. And then that's that. So it just sits on its own page. Doesn't matter if it fills a gap on your last page. It doesn't have to be on a new page. That's not a rule, but it looks nice like that. Okay. If you think I've missed anything out or you've got any further questions, by all means type with me. But hopefully between this video and the document on Moodle, which is there for you to use, guidance on bibliography and citations, you should be okay. Final point that I should mention, I have updated this document. In my early material on Moodle, I got John Mullen's name wrong. So I was putting EN and it should have been AN. So that was my failing. I didn't check it. And if I'd have been handing that in as a final draft, I would not have been impressed. So double check your spellings, particularly of names. They are easy to get wrong, okay? And as English students and as English teachers, it's one of the things that we should be taking care about, okay? So yeah, it's always worth double checking. Mullan, A-N, okay? So that needs to be right. Anyway, I think that'll do. Good luck with it. And I will see you soon, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.